with health needs, disabilities, health needs, health management, recovery, depending on what category you're in, it's so individualized as to how that impacts not only the individual, but the whole travel party.
Jackie Roby here, Chief Excellence Officer of Inspire Journey Consulting, and I am truly excited to have Amy Flores here with me today from T-Travels. Amy specializes in travel for people with all abilities and has some incredible inspirational stories behind that. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, Jackie.
Thank you so much for being here. Tell me first and foremost about T-Travels and what inspired you to start your business.
So for me, travel has always been something just part of our life. We've always traveled fairly extensively compared to others. We didn't think it was a lot till you start chatting around and realize not everybody lives out of a suitcase as much as we do. I was a service provider for a long time for families with disabilities. And I'm a parent of an adult now with severe physical disabilities. And that's really what led my travel passion and my disability health needs specialty to come together. And for us, it was really just the connection and not just the step away from the everyday medical and all of those things that happen when you have a medically complex child at home. But the travel was more than just a break and a vacation. While that was great and that was a piece of it, it really was the only time our family connected with a shared experience. Because with the care, you're busy doing the care, you're busy doing the school stuff. So my husband and my son were always off doing one thing, and then I was always doing the care and the medical with my daughter. And then when we traveled, like, that really just all goes away.
Mhm.
And not to be naive or to say the disability doesn't matter, because obviously it's always there. It really was the only time for us. It was such a meaningful time to really feel connected like a typical, and I hate that, typical family. But if you don't live in the health needs world, needing accommodations and modifications, it's hard to explain how much that impacts your day to day.
Mhm.
Um, so one of our little catchphrases is, it takes an extraordinary effort to have an ordinary day when you live with medical complexities. So most people that I worked with in my special needs world couldn't even think of trying to make it an extraordinary day. So when I would hear about their lack of dreaming or lack of even thinking of traveling, or they would have it even worse, they would have a travel experience and it was negative, didn't go well, they weren't pleased with it, and you come home with more sour feelings than magical memories. That was really hard. So that's what led me to share my expertise with traveling to the larger community.
I think that's beautiful. I love how your family focused on memories and the adventures that you have together. That's such a huge thing and a beautiful part of the travel experience,
Yeah.
and really finding the joy in each of those moments.
Exactly. And that it lifts the spirit, lightens the load, normalizes everything. And it's not just for that time that you're away. People say, "Oh, it's nice, it's a luxury, it's extra." It really isn't. It was a core priority for us and a necessity for us, because it's not just for that week or so when you're traveling. You get the anticipation of the trip and the excitement and the planning, and we always made that fun as well. And then afterwards, my children are now adults, and when they have new people come to the house, they still, one of the first things they do is grab all the scrapbooks and look at all the photos of the trips and the inside jokes, or whatever from the trips, and explain, "Oh, guess what, when we did this." So it stays with them forever, in a, again, in a strong, meaningful way. And that's really helped us stay connected as a family.
It's amazing. So, can you give some examples of someone, a supplier, a hotel or a cruise line or what have you, that does it right, and then another, and you don't have to name names, that could use improvement?
Of course, if you can't tell by everything that's around me, is Disney. We do go to Disney often. And part of that is because they just do it. And for us, it's just so easy. It truly is home. Like they joke when they say, if you go to Disney regularly, when you check in, they say, welcome home. And for us, that really is what it is. It's easy and smooth. And again, I've had people that have gone to Disney and had horrible experiences because they didn't know what they didn't know. They didn't know how to plan effectively and how to take advantage of the disability services that are there. We've been to other amusement parks, if you will, like large scale theme parks that are not so accommodating and are very strict. And I understand that for liability needs and those things. But yeah, we've had some not so great, borderline, truly horrible experiences at some of the other locations. Again, just because they are so strict and not sure how to take I think it's just an intimidation factor with the disabilities. And I actually wrote many letters to corporate offices and shared my accommodation, like modification and disability inclusion expertise and all of those things with them. And they did rewrite a huge piece of their disability access guide after about a year's worth of going back and forth with their management. So that's a good thing to see. I will say in the world of autism, things have come a long way. There are many accommodations and trainings in autism certified locations now, especially within the theme park world. And also a lot of the all inclusives, thus they train their staff of how to deal with things, what to be on the lookout for, how to deal with behaviors and work with the families. So there's been a lot of access in that area. And now we're hoping be, because of that, that's our gateway to create more inclusive, universal access all around.
You're a superhero, so thank you for all that you do. Can you give a quick overview of a room that would need the support that it didn't have?
And again, this is when people say, why don't you just write a book with this is what you need, XYZ, and here's your like process. With health needs, disabilities, health needs, health management, recovery, depending on what category you're in, it's so individualized as to how that impacts not only the individual, but the whole travel party that that's why I don't just have a quick answer to everything because you're like, well, how many people and what type of devices do they have? And I've worked with people when I say disability, most people automatically jump to child with autism, uh, kid in a wheelchair, like those, I hate to say like, but those poster child type
Mhm.
stereotypes. But I work with multi-generational where the grandparents might just have some mobility issues or some medical needs, some stamina issues that need to be taken into consideration when you're dealing with different age groups, dietary needs, sensory needs, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, things like that. People who are in cancer treatment or recently in remission, but now have ongoing immune issues or whatever from their treatments. It really runs the gamut. And like I said, all of those are very different. One of the quick little things I can say is just because the room is not quote unquote accessible doesn't mean it might not work for you. A lot of for cruise ships, for example, there are very few accessible rooms in a cruise ship because the doors are so narrow for most staterooms, and the accessible ones have a wide enough door for a wheelchair. So just because you need that, there are options. You can actually rent equipment that's narrow enough to fit into the narrow doorways if you just need like a scooter or a stamina mobility issue support, that you don't need the full-fledged large size scooter. There's just, again, there's so many equipment options available that people don't necessarily know of if they've only utilized the traditional medical rental services. But I
This
don't know if that's an example. It's not necessarily what the room should have. It's more about what you can make with a room that doesn't have.
yeah, it's what the room could have. You're creating potential, and I think this is, again, just another reason why we trust the travel experts and we come work with travel advisors, because you see the possibilities and you build the relationships. And for crying out loud, you're emailing management trying to get them to change your room. You're amazing. This is exactly what people need. And I really love how you mentioned the multi generational work that you do and clients that you have, because that is something that I wanted to hear a little bit about. That we're not just talking about traveling with kids, we're talking about adults as well,
Mhm.
and how that can look more inclusive.
Correct. And the standard data is 20% of the population has a disability. All age groups, all, it when they say it affects everybody, everybody knows somebody. And that's just that with an identifiable disability, never mind all of those that just have a chronic health need
Mm.
or again, a medical diagnosis that might be in treatment. Again, in treatment changes, and you want to make sure that you're close enough to medical. When we were just in Disney this past week, we had to go to an emergency room because urgent care didn't have a piece of equipment that they needed in order to, so we went to the emergency room. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a serious issue. We know what needed to get fixed. If we were home, it would have been done in an hour, but we weren't home. But knowing the highest quality, closest urgent care and emergency services in the area when you're traveling with a health need, you need to know that. And instead of saying, oh, I won't have access to medical care, I won't go. That's why I'm here. I can give you all of those reinsurances that you need to have a successful trip.
Amazing. Well, I would love to let people know how they can find you so that they
Mhm.
can work with you. And also, I know that you've got a really great guide to provide as well.
Yes. So the easiest way to contact me is Amy, AMY, at T Travs. So it's TRAVS.com. Amy at TRAVS.com is my email. And if you send me an email, I will in turn give you the accessible travel guide for all abilities. It's just a way to start framing what you might need. So Amy at TRAVS.com, and I'll send that right out to anybody.
Gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm truly grateful. And I will also be sending out an email to those of you subscribed to Inspire Journey Consulting that will have Amy's details as well. Stay inspired.